My sneakers pounded against the riverside trail, each stride pulling me further from the suffocating walls of Portland General Hospital. 12 hours in the ER. 12 hours of fluorescent lights, beeping monitors, and the metallic scent of blood clinging to every surface. This Saturday afternoon run was the only thing keeping me sane. October air filled my lungs, sharp and clean, carrying hints of pine and the earthy smell of the Willamette River beside me. Fallen leaves crunched beneath my feet as I pushed harder, trying to outrun the exhaustion that had become my constant companion since I lost both my parents in a car accident 8 years ago. At 26, I should have moved past the grief, but some losses carved themselves so deep that they never truly healed. I slowed near my favorite bend in the river, hands on my knees as I caught my breath. The water rushed past, swollen from recent rains, its current stronger than usual. Most people avoided this section of Riverside Park on weekends, preferring the manicured paths closer to downtown. That suited me fine. Solitude had become comfortable after so many years alone. A sharp cry shattered the peaceful afternoon. My head snapped up, searching for the source. There, maybe 30 yards downstream where the river curved sharply, a small figure flailed in the water. A child. The current was dragging him toward the rapids that formed where the riverbed dropped suddenly, creating a churning death trap that had claimed 3 lives in the past decade. I was running before conscious thought caught up with instinct. The child's dark hair disappeared beneath the surface, then bobbed up again. He couldn't have been more than 6 years old, his small arms beating uselessly against the water's pull. "Hold on," I shouted, already kicking off my shoes. "I'm coming." The water hit me like a wall of ice when I plunged in, stealing my breath and making my muscles seize. But I'd grown up swimming in Oregon's rivers and lakes. I knew how to work with the current rather than fight it, angling my body to close the distance between us. The boy's terrified eyes locked onto mine as I reached him. His small hand shot out, grasping my arm with surprising strength. "I've got you," I gasped, pulling him against my chest. "Just hold on to me." He clung to me fiercely, his body trembling with cold and fear. I turned toward the shore, kicking hard against the current. My lungs burned and my muscles screamed in protest. But I focused on one stroke at a time, one kick, one breath. The rapids roared behind us, growing closer with each second. My foot finally found purchase on the rocky bottom. I pushed forward with renewed determination, half swimming, half crawling until we reached the shallow water near the bank. We collapsed onto the muddy shore, both of us gasping for air. "Are you hurt?" I managed to ask once I could breathe again, checking him quickly for injuries. He shook his head, water streaming from his dark hair. "No, you saved me." Relief flooded through me, followed immediately by concern. "Where are your parents? You shouldn't be near the river alone." Before he could answer, the sound of running footsteps made me look up. 3 men in expensive suits appeared through the trees, their faces a mixture of relief and alarm. They moved with military precision, immediately surrounding us. "Leo!" one of them barked into a radio. "We've got him. He's safe. Leo." So that was the boy's name. "Stand back, ma'am," another said to me, his hand moving to his waistband where I glimpsed the outline of a weapon. I raised my hands instinctively, confused and suddenly wary. I was just helping him. He was drowning. "Father's coming," the first man said, ignoring me as he wrapped a blanket around Leo's shoulders. 2 minutes out, the sound of a vehicle engine growled through the park, followed by the slam of a door. Footsteps approached, these ones measured and purposeful rather than rushed. Then he appeared. The man who emerged from between the trees stole whatever breath I'd managed to recover. He stood well over 6 feet tall, broad-shouldered and powerfully built, moving with the contained grace of a predator. Dark hair, impeccably styled despite the emergency, framed a face all sharp angles and hard planes. But it was his eyes that held me frozen, intense blue that seemed to look straight through me, assessing everything in a single glance. He wore a black suit that probably cost more than 3 months of my rent, not a thread out of place despite his obvious rush to get here. Everything about him screamed power and control, from the way the suited men deferred to him immediately to the commanding presence that seemed to fill the clearing. "Daddy!" Leo scrambled to his feet and ran to the man, who caught him in a fierce embrace, that transformed his cold expression for just a moment into something human. Vulnerable. "Leo," he said, his voice deep and rough with emotion he was clearly fighting to control. "What have I told you about the water? I'm sorry. I just wanted to see the ducks, and I slipped, and the lady saved me." Leo pointed at me, where I still sat on the muddy bank, probably looking like a drowned rat. Those piercing blue eyes fixed on me again, and I felt the impact like a physical touch. The man approached slowly, Leo still held against his side, his gaze never leaving my face. "You pulled him out," he stated rather than asked. I nodded, suddenly very aware of how my soaked running clothes clung to every curve, how my long brown hair hung in wet tangles around my face. He was being swept toward the rapids. Anyone would have done the same. "No," he said softly, something dangerous flickering in his expression. "They wouldn't have." He crouched before me, bringing us to eye level. This close, I could see flecks of gray in his blue eyes, could smell expensive cologne mixed with something uniquely him. "What's your name?" "Elena. Elena Reyes. Victor Callahan." He offered his hand, and when I took it, warmth flooded through me despite my wet clothes. His grip was firm, his palm calloused in a way that surprised me given his obvious wealth. "You saved my son's life, Miss Reyes. That creates a debt." Something about the way he said debt made my pulse quicken. Not a simple thank you, but something deeper, more binding. "I don't want any reward," I said quickly, withdrawing my hand though part of me wanted to keep holding on. "I'm just glad he's okay." Victor's eyes narrowed slightly as if my refusal surprised him. One of the suited men appeared with a tablet, showing him something. Victor's jaw tightened as he read. Then he looked back at me with renewed intensity. "Elena Reyes, nurse at Portland General, 26 years old, lives alone in the Pearl District." He tilted his head. "No family." Ice water flooded my veins, and this time it had nothing to do with the river. "How do you know all that?" "I know everything that concerns the safety of my son." His expression softened fractionally. "Don't be alarmed. I'm simply thorough." Simply thorough. Right. Because normal people had their security team run background checks within minutes of meeting someone. Leo tugged on his father's sleeve. "Can Elena come for dinner? Please? I want to thank her properly." "Leo," Victor began, but the boy's pleading expression seemed to affect him. He sighed, then turned back to me. "My son has a point. Allow me to thank you appropriately. Dinner tomorrow evening. I'll send a car." It wasn't really a request, despite the phrasing. And something about Victor Callahan made it clear that he was a man accustomed to getting what he wanted. "I don't think that's necessary," I started. "Please," Leo said, his big blue eyes, so like his father's, fixed on me with heartbreaking sincerity. "You're my hero. How could I refuse that?" "All right," I heard myself say. "Dinner tomorrow." Victor's lips curved in what might have been a smile, though it didn't quite reach his eyes. "Excellent. 7 o'clock. And Miss Reyes?" He leaned closer, his voice dropping to a tone that sent shivers down my spine. "You saved what I value most in this world. That means you belong to me now, whether you realize it yet or not." Before I could process that alarming statement, he stood, lifting Leo effortlessly into his arms. "James will take down your address. The car will arrive at 6:30. He walked away without waiting for my response, his security team falling into formation around him like a well-trained unit. I watched them disappear into the trees, my mind spinning. What had I just agreed to? One of the suited men, James apparently, remained behind. He handed me a business card with nothing but a phone number embossed in gold. "If you need anything before tomorrow, Miss Reyes, anything at all." Then he too was gone, and I sat alone on the riverbank, soaked and shivering, holding a mysterious business card and wondering how saving a drowning child had just complicated my carefully ordered life. As I gathered my shoes and started the walk back to my apartment, one thought kept circling through my mind. Victor Callahan's eyes when he said I belonged to him now, and the traitorous part of me that hadn't entirely hated hearing those words. Sunday evening arrived too quickly. I stood in my modest apartment, staring at my limited wardrobe with growing panic. What did one wear to dinner with a man who probably owned half of Portland? My best dress, A simple navy blue number I saved for hospital charity events would have to do. Sophia had called 3 times since yesterday, demanding details about the mysterious dinner invitation. I'd kept my explanations vague, not wanting to admit that I found Victor Callahan both terrifying and impossibly attractive. At precisely 6:30, my buzzer rang. I grabbed my purse and headed downstairs, expecting a town car. Instead, a sleek black Mercedes waited at the curb, a driver in uniform holding the rear door open. "Miss Reyes," he greeted with professional courtesy. "Mr. Callahan is looking forward to seeing you again." The drive through downtown Portland took 20 minutes, ending at an Italian restaurant I'd only read about in lifestyle magazines. Bellissimo occupied the top floor of a historic building, its reputation for exclusivity legendary. Victor waited in the lobby, devastatingly handsome in a charcoal suit that emphasized his broad shoulders and commanding presence. When his blue eyes met mine, something flickered in their depths that made my breath catch. "Elena," he said, my name sounding different on his lips. Intimate. "You look beautiful." Heat crept up my neck. "Thank you for inviting me." He offered his arm, and after a moment's hesitation, I took it. His muscles flexed beneath the expensive fabric as he guided me toward the elevator. The tension between us grew thicker with each passing second. The restaurant's interior took my breath away. Soft lighting, elegant decor, and panoramic views of the city skyline created an atmosphere of refined luxury. But what struck me most was the complete absence of other diners. The entire space appeared empty except for staff. "Did we arrive too early?" I asked. Victor's lips curved slightly. "I reserved the restaurant for the evening. Privacy is important to me." Reserved the entire restaurant. Of course he had. His hand settled on the small of my back as he steered me toward a table by the windows. "Tonight, I wanted your undivided attention." My pulse quickened at his words. Before I could respond, I noticed several men in dark suits positioned strategically around the restaurant's perimeter. They stood with military posture, eyes constantly scanning. Victor followed my gaze. "My security team. Forgive the obvious presence. I have enemies who watch me constantly, especially in public venues. They look for weaknesses, vulnerabilities." His eyes locked on mine. "I can't afford to let my guard down." "What kind of business are you in?" I asked as he held my chair. "Import and export, real estate, various investments." He settled across from me, his expression giving nothing away. Boring corporate matters. Somehow I doubted anything about Victor Callahan was boring. A waiter appeared with wine, pouring without asking our preference. Clearly, Victor had prearranged everything. "Tell me about yourself," Victor said once we were alone again. "Your parents. How did you lose them?" The question caught me off guard with its directness. "Car accident. I was 18, just starting college. A drunk driver crossed the center line. I took a sip of wine, the memory still painful after 8 years. They died instantly. I dropped out, worked full-time, eventually went to nursing school. It took longer than planned, but I graduated. No siblings? No, it's just me." I'd said those words so many times they'd lost their sting. Almost. Something shifted in Victor's expression. A flash of understanding that suggested he knew what it meant to be alone. "Family is everything," he said quietly. "Those we're born to, and those we choose." Before I could explore that statement, the waiter returned with the first course. The meal that followed was extraordinary, each dish more exquisite than the last. Victor proved to be surprisingly good company when he relaxed, asking thoughtful questions about my work, my interests, my life. He listened with an intensity that made me feel like the only person in his world. I found myself opening up more than intended, sharing stories about difficult patients, the satisfaction of helping people heal, the exhaustion that sometimes threatened to overwhelm me. He watched me throughout, those piercing blue eyes never wavering. "You care deeply about people," he observed. "Even strangers. That's rare. Isn't that normal? To care about others? In my experience, most people only care about themselves." He refilled my wine glass, his fingers brushing mine deliberately. "You jumped into a dangerous river without hesitation to save a child you didn't know." That makes you exceptional. Or impulsive, I countered, trying to lighten the intensity of his stare. Brave, he corrected firmly. Leo hasn't stopped talking about you since yesterday. He drew you a picture. Victor pulled a folded paper from his jacket pocket, sliding it across the table. I opened it to find a child's crayon drawing of a woman with brown hair, saving a stick figure from blue waves. The words, "Thank you," Elena, were written in uneven letters across the top. My throat tightened. He's a sweet boy. He is. Victor's expression softened in a way I hadn't seen before, revealing a glimpse of the man beneath the controlled exterior. He's been through a lot for someone so young. Lost his mother 3 years ago. He doesn't trust easily anymore. I'm sorry, I said softly. How did she die? Car bomb meant for me. His voice went flat, emotionless in a way that suggested enormous pain buried deep. Wrong place, wrong time. She paid the price for my mistakes. The casual mention of a car bomb sent ice through my veins. What kind of business dealings involved explosives? But before I could process that alarming detail, the elevator doors opened across the restaurant. A small figure burst out, racing toward our table with a beaming smile. Elena! Leo launched himself at me, wrapping his small arms around my neck. I hugged him instinctively, surprised by how natural it felt. Leo, what are you doing here? I escaped, he declared proudly, then seemed to remember his father. His expression turned sheepish. Sorry, Daddy. I wanted to see Elena. Victor's jaw tightened, but he didn't look angry, just resigned. A harried-looking woman in a nanny's uniform appeared, slightly out of breath. Mr. Callahan, I'm so sorry. He was supposed to be asleep. He must have heard the car return and snuck out. It's all right, Marie. Victor's tone held no accusation. Take him home. I'll deal with this later. Can I stay? Leo pleaded. Just for a little bit? Victor looked at me, something questioning in his expression, making it my choice. Maybe just for a few minutes, I suggested. Leo's answering smile was worth the disruption. He chattered excitedly about his day, his school, his favorite games, occasionally pulling me by the hand to see something interesting through the windows. Victor watched us together, his expression unreadable but intense. When Marie finally collected Leo, promising ice cream if he went quietly, he hugged me again. Will I see you soon? I hope so, I said honestly. After they left, Victor remained silent for a long moment. He's attached to you already. That concerns me. Why? Because attachment means vulnerability. And in my world, vulnerability gets people killed. He stood abruptly. Come. Let me show you something. He led me to the elevator, but instead of going down, we went up to the roof. Portland spread out below us, lights twinkling against the darkness. Victor stood at the railing, his profile sharp against the night sky. My wife wore her seatbelt, he said quietly. She did everything right. But when that bomb detonated, the car flipped 3 times. She died before the ambulance arrived. I held her, covered in her blood, and I couldn't do anything. I moved closer, drawn by the raw pain in his voice. That wasn't your fault, wasn't it? He turned to face me, and in the dim lighting, his eyes seemed darker. I built an empire on dangerous ground. She knew what I was, what I did. She accepted it, and it killed her. What exactly do you do, Victor? He studied me for a long moment, then stepped closer, backing me gently against the railing. His hands came to rest on either side of me, not touching, but caging me in. Things that would frighten you if you knew the details. But everything I do to protect what's mine, and what's yours, I whispered, mesmerized by his nearness. Leo, my business, my territory. His hand came up to cup my cheek, his touch surprisingly gentle. And as of yesterday, apparently you can't just claim ownership of a person, can't I? His thumb traced my lower lip, sending electricity racing through me. You saved my son. That created a bond whether you intended it or not. And now Leo loves you, which means I need to keep you safe. I don't need protection. Everyone needs protection, Elena, especially from the darkness in this world. His face lowered toward mine, his breath warm against my lips. Especially from me. He was going to kiss me. Every nerve in my body screamed for it. But at the last second, he pulled back, his expression shuddering. "I should take you home," he said, his voice rough. The drive back to my apartment passed in charged silence. When we arrived, Victor walked me to my door despite my protests. "Thank you for tonight," I managed. "This isn't over," he said, his intensity pinning me in place. "I'll see you again soon, Elena Reyes." He waited until I was safely inside before leaving. I leaned against my closed door, heart racing, mind spinning with questions. Who was Victor Callahan really? And why did the warning in his words only make me want to know more? Tuesday afternoon found me leaving Portland General after a rare day shift. The hospital had been mercifully quiet, giving me time to overthink everything that had happened with Victor. I'd heard nothing from him since Sunday night, and that bothered me more than it should have. My phone buzzed as I crossed the parking lot. Sophia's name lit up the screen. "Finally," she said when I answered. "You've been avoiding my calls. Spill everything about this mysterious dinner." "It was just dinner, Soph. Nothing dramatic. With a man who sends Mercedes and reserves entire restaurants? Girl, that's not nothing." I laughed despite myself. "It's complicated." "Complicated how? Is he married? Criminal? Both?" The word criminal hung in the air uncomfortably. "I'll explain later. I'm exhausted." "Fine, but I want details soon, or I'm showing up at your apartment." I ended the call as I reached my car, fumbling for my keys. The parking garage was nearly empty at 7 p.m., most staff having left hours ago. My footsteps echoed off concrete as I walked. Then I heard other footsteps, multiple sets, moving too quickly. I turned just as 3 men emerged from behind a support pillar. They wore dark clothes, their faces hard and unfriendly. One held something that looked sickeningly like a gun. "Elena Reyes," the tallest one said. It wasn't a question. My heart slammed against my ribs. "Who are you?" "Doesn't matter. You're coming with us." He moved forward, reaching for my arm. Instinct kicked in. I swung my purse at his face and ran. I made it maybe 10 feet before strong hands grabbed me from behind. I screamed, fighting with everything I had, but there were 3 of them and only one of me. "Shut her up," someone growled. A hand clamped over my mouth. I bit down hard, tasting blood. The man cursed viciously and backhanded me. Pain exploded across my cheek. Then suddenly, everything changed. A black SUV screeched into the garage, tires screaming. Doors flew open before it fully stopped. Men poured out, moving with lethal precision. And at the center of it all was Victor. His face transformed into something terrifying. "Let her go," he said, his voice deadly calm. The man holding me hesitated for only a second before Victor crossed the distance between them. What happened next was brutal and efficient. Victor moved like violence personified, every strike calculated and devastating. Within seconds, 2 of my attackers were on the ground. The third, the one who'd hit me, pulled his gun. Victor was faster. He twisted the weapon away, then slammed the man against a concrete pillar with enough force to crack bone. "Who sent you?" Victor demanded. His forearm pressed against the man's throat. The man spat at him. "Go to hell, Callahan." Victor's expression didn't change, but something in his eyes went cold. "Wrong answer." The sound of the gunshot made me flinch. The man dropped, a red stain spreading across his chest. Victor let him fall without a flicker of emotion, then turned to me. The dangerous predator vanished, replaced by concern. "Elena, are you hurt?" I couldn't speak, couldn't process what I'd just witnessed. Victor had killed a man right in front of me without hesitation, without remorse. "Elena." He reached for me, and I flinched back. Pain flashed across his face before his expression went carefully blank. "We need to leave. Now." More could be coming. James appeared at his side. "Sir, we should move her to the safe house." "The mansion," Victor corrected. "I want her where I can protect her personally." "I need to go home," I finally managed, my voice shaking. "Your home isn't safe anymore." Victor's tone left no room for argument. "Those men knew your name, knew where you'd be. Someone's been watching you. Because of me." The weight of that sank in. "What?" "They saw you with me at the restaurant. My enemies are always looking for leverage. His jaw tightened. I should have anticipated this. Should have protected you better. Protected me? You just killed someone. Yes. No apology, no justification, just stark honesty. And I'll kill anyone else who tries to hurt you. He guided me toward the SUV, his hand on my lower back. I was too shocked to resist. James drove while Victor sat beside me, his presence overwhelming in the confined space. Who were they? I asked. Rivals. Men who want what I have and will use any weakness to take it. His eyes fixed on the bruise forming on my cheek, and his expression darkened further. They made a mistake touching you. We arrived at a massive estate on the outskirts of Portland. The mansion sprawled across manicured grounds, surrounded by high walls and obvious security. Armed men patrolled the perimeter. Inside was even more impressive. Marble floors, expensive art, furniture that probably cost more than my yearly salary. It screamed wealth and power. This way, Victor said, leading me up a sweeping staircase to a guest suite larger than my entire apartment. I can't stay here, I protested weakly. You can, and you will. Until we eliminate the threat. You're not leaving my protection. He moved to a closet, returning with a first aid kit. Sit. I perched on the edge of the enormous bed. Victor knelt before me, his touch surprisingly gentle as he examined the bruise on my face. This close, I could see the tension in his jaw, the barely controlled fury in his eyes. Does it hurt? He asked quietly. A little. I'm sorry. He dabbed antiseptic on a small cut. This is my fault. I brought danger into your life. You also saved me from it. I shouldn't have had to. His hand cupped my uninjured cheek, his thumb stroking my skin softly. You jumped into a river to save my son. You didn't deserve this. Victor, what exactly do you do? And don't tell me import and export. He was quiet for a long moment. I control territory, docks, shipping routes, businesses, some legal, some less so. I have power, which means I have enemies. Men who would use anyone close to me as a weapon. You're a criminal. Yes. No hesitation. I won't lie to you, Elena. I've done things that would horrify you. But I have a code. I don't hurt innocents. I protect my own. And killing that man? That was protecting? That was protecting you. He put his hands on you. He hit you. Victor's voice went cold. He was dead the moment he made that choice. I should have been terrified. Should have demanded he take me home immediately. But all I could think about was how safe I'd felt when Victor arrived. How he'd moved to protect me without hesitation. How long do I have to stay here? Until it's safe. A few days at minimum. He stood, moving toward the door. If you need anything, just ask. Victor. He paused, looking back. Thank you. For saving me. Something flickered in his eyes. Always, Elena. I'll always protect you. After he left, I explored the suite. Designer clothes in my size hung in the closet. He'd prepared for this. I was examining a bookshelf when a small voice came from the doorway. Elena? Leo stood there in pajamas, his dark hair mussed. Daddy said you're staying with us. Is it true? I knelt down. Just for a little while. Good. He threw his arms around my neck. I missed you. My heart melted. I missed you too, sweetheart. Can you read me a story? Daddy's in meetings and Marie reads too fast. I glanced at the door, uncertain. But Leo's hopeful expression was impossible to refuse. Show me your room. He grabbed my hand, pulling me down the hall to a bedroom decorated with space themes. We settled on his bed, with a worn storybook. As I read, Leo's head drooped against my shoulder. Elena, Daddy says you're special. That you're brave like Mommy was. Your daddy talks about your mommy? Sometimes. She died when I was little. I don't remember much. His voice grew quieter. Do you think she can see me from heaven? My throat tightened. I think she watches over you every day. And she's very proud of you. I wish she was here. But I'm glad you're here now. By the time Victor found us 20 minutes later, Leo was asleep in my arms. Victor leaned against the doorframe, his expression softer than I'd ever seen it. He hasn't let anyone read to him in months. He's easy to love, I said quietly. Victor tucked his son in, pressing a kiss to his forehead with such tenderness it made my chest ache. Then he led me back into the hallway. Elena, I need you to understand something. His blue eyes bored into mine. What you saw tonight. That's my reality. It's brutal and dangerous. And what am I to you? He stepped closer, backing me against the wall. You're the woman who saved my son's life, who Leo adores, who I can't stop thinking about. His hand traced the bruise on my cheek. You're someone I'll burn the entire city down to protect. That should scare me. Should it? His face lowered toward mine. Are you scared, Elena? I should have said yes. But all I felt was desire. No, I whispered. His control snapped. Victor's mouth crashed against mine in a kiss that stole my breath. It was demanding, desperate, full of need. His hands tangled in my hair as he pressed me harder against the wall. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, his eyes had darkened. You should be scared, he said roughly. Because I'm not letting you go, Elena. Not now. And God help me. I didn't want him to. Friday morning, I woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows. For a disorienting moment, I forgot where I was. Then memory flooded back. Victor's mansion. The attack. The kiss. That kiss. I touched my lips, remembering the intensity of it. The way Victor had looked at me afterward, like I was something precious and dangerous all at once. 3 days had passed since the parking garage. 3 days of living in Victor's world, and I still hadn't seen him beyond brief, tense encounters. He'd throw himself into work, leaving early and returning late. When our paths did cross, the air between us crackled with unspoken tension. He was avoiding me. That much was obvious. I found Leo in the kitchen with Marie, eating pancakes shaped like dinosaurs. His face lit up when he saw me. Elena, look, a T-Rex! I slid into the chair beside him, accepting the coffee Marie offered. Very fierce. Where's Daddy? In his office, Marie said quietly. He's been there since 5 a.m. That decided it. I was done being avoided. After breakfast, I navigated the mansion's corridors until I found Victor's office. The door was partially open. He stood behind a massive desk, phone pressed to his ear, his voice cold and commanding. I don't care about his excuses. He had one job. Handle it or I will. He ended the call, then seemed to sense my presence. His eyes found mine, and something flickered in their depths before his expression shuddered. Elena, do you need something? Yes. An explanation. I stepped inside, closing the door behind me. You've been avoiding me. I've been busy. Liar. I crossed my arms. You kissed me, Victor. Then you disappeared. If you regret it, just say so. He was around the desk in 3 strides, his intensity pinning me in place. Regret it? Elena, that kiss is all I can think about. It's why I'm avoiding you. That makes no sense. Doesn't it? His hand came up to cup my face, his thumb brushing my cheekbone. You don't belong in this world. You're good, kind, everything I'm not. You should be as far from me as possible. Shouldn't I get to decide that? Not when deciding wrong could get you killed. His voice roughened. You saw what happened in that garage. That's my life, Elena. Violence and blood and constant danger. You deserve better. What I deserve is the truth. Stop making decisions for me. I held his gaze. I'm terrified of what I saw, of what you did, but I'm more terrified of this feeling inside me when I look at you. So tell me honestly, what do you want? You. The word came out raw, honest. I want you so badly it's destroying my control. But wanting you means putting you at risk. I'm already at risk. Those men came after me because I saved Leo. Because I matter to him, which apparently makes me matter to you. I stepped closer. So stop pushing me away and be honest. Not just with me, with yourself. Something in his expression cracked. You have no idea what you're asking. Then show me. Victor's restraint snapped. He pulled me against him, his mouth claiming mine with desperate intensity. This kiss was different from the first, slower but somehow more consuming. His hands slid into my hair, angling my head to deepen the kiss. I melted into him, my fingers clutching his shirt. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against mine. You're going to ruin me, he whispered. Good, I whispered back. A knock on the door made us spring apart. James entered, his expression carefully neutral. though his eyes registered our disheveled state. "Sir, the shipment issue has been resolved. Also, Leo is asking for Elena. Something about a fort." Victor's lips twitched. "Tell him she'll be there shortly." After James left, Victor caught my hand. "Tonight, have dinner with me. Just us. Let me do this properly." "Properly?" "Court you, the way you deserve." His thumb stroked my knuckles. "If you're determined to stay in my world, at least let me show you it's not all violence." "All right," I agreed, my heart racing. Tonight, the rest of the day passed in a blur. Leo recruited me for an elaborate blanket fort construction project that took over the entire living room. His laughter was infectious, and for a few hours, I could almost forget the danger lurking outside these walls. That evening, I found a dress laid out on my bed. Emerald green silk that probably cost a fortune. A note in bold handwriting read, "Wear this. 7 p.m. The Garden." At precisely 7, I made my way downstairs. The mansion's back garden had been transformed. String lights hung between trees, creating a canopy of stars. A small table sat in the center, set for two with candles and roses. Victor waited beside it, devastating in a dark suit. When he saw me, something heated flashed in his eyes. "You're beautiful," he said simply. "You did all this?" "I wanted tonight to be special." He pulled out my chair. "I wanted to show you that my world has beauty too. Not just darkness." Dinner was exquisite, but I barely tasted it. I was too focused on Victor, on the way he looked at me like I was the only thing in his universe. We talked about everything. My dreams, his fears, childhood memories both painful and sweet. "Tell me about your wife," I said gently. "Not how she died, who she was." Victor was quiet for a long moment. "Catherine was kind, patient. She knew what I was when she married me, accepted it because she believed I could change." His expression grew distant. "I tried. For her. For Leo. But you can't escape what you are. Do you still love her?" "I'll always love her memory. But what I felt for her and what I feel for you are completely different." He reached across the table, taking my hand. "Catherine was safe, comfortable. You're terrifying. You make me want impossible things." "Like what?" "Like a future where I deserve you." His grip tightened. "Like being a better man. You already are better than you think. I've killed people, Elena. More than I can count. Did they deserve it?" He met my eyes. "Every single one. I don't kill innocents." That's my line. I believed him. Maybe I was naive, but something in his voice rang true. Then that's enough for me. "Is it?" "Because once you're mine, Elena, I won't let you go. I'm possessive, controlling. I'll want to know where you are every moment. I'll smother you with protection. Then I'll tell you when you cross a line." I stood, moving around the table to him. "I'm not fragile, Victor. I won't break." He pulled me into his lap, his arms wrapping around me. "Promise me something." "What?" "If this life becomes too much, if you want out, you'll tell me. You won't just disappear." "I promise." I kissed him softly. "But I'm not going anywhere." "Stubborn woman," he murmured against my lips. "You love it. I love you." The words hung between us, shocking us both. Victor looked as surprised as I felt. "I love you," he repeated, more certain this time. "I've known since the moment I saw you holding Leo, soaking wet and defiant. I just didn't want to admit it." My throat tightened with emotion. "I love you too. I probably shouldn't, but I do." His kiss was tender this time, full of promise. When he finally pulled back, his eyes were suspiciously bright. "Come with me," he said. "I want to show you something." He led me inside and upstairs, but not to my room. Instead, we stopped at his bedroom. It was masculine and elegant, dominated by a massive bed, but he guided me to a dresser, opening a drawer to reveal a velvet box. Inside lay an antique necklace, emeralds and pearls set in delicate gold filigree, clearly worth a fortune. But more than that, it looked old, important. "This was my grandmother's," Victor explained. "She wore it when she married my grandfather in Ireland. My mother wore it. Catherine wore it." He lifted it carefully. "In my family, When a man chooses his partner, he gives her this. It's a promise, a claim. My breath caught. Victor, I'm not asking you to marry me. Not yet. You need to be sure about this life first. He turned me gently, fastening the necklace around my throat. The weight of it settled against my skin like a brand. But I'm asking you to be mine. Completely. To trust me to protect you. To let Leo love you. To build something real with me despite the darkness. I met his eyes in the mirror. Yes. Yes. Yes, I'm yours. I turned in his arms. Completely. The kiss that followed was incendiary. Victor walked me backward until my legs hit the bed. We fell together, hands exploring, hearts racing. He worshipped every inch of exposed skin, murmuring words of devotion against my neck, my collarbone. Lower. Tell me to stop, he said roughly, his control clearly hanging by a thread. Don't stop, I whispered. Don't ever stop. That was all the permission he needed. Victor made love to me with reverence and passion, his touch both gentle and demanding. When we finally came together, it felt like something fundamental shifted, like we'd sealed something unbreakable between us. Afterward, we lay tangled in his sheets, my head on his chest, the necklace still warm against my skin. Stay, he murmured, pressing a kiss to my hair. Not just tonight. Stay with us, with me and Leo. Make this your home. Are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything. His arms tightened around me. You saved us, Elena. In more ways than one. Now let me keep you safe. Let me love you. How could I refuse that? Okay, I whispered. I'll stay. Outside, the night stretched peacefully around us. Inside Victor's arms, I finally felt like I'd found where I belonged. Monday morning arrived with deceptive tranquility. I woke wrapped in Victor's arms, the emerald necklace still resting against my collarbone. Sunlight filtered through the curtains, and for a moment, everything felt perfect. Then Victor's phone shattered the peace. He answered on the second ring, his voice instantly alert, despite having been asleep moments before. What is it? I watched his expression harden as he listened. When he ended the call, tension radiated from every line of his body. What's wrong? I asked. I have to attend a charity gala tonight. It's been scheduled for months, and my absence would raise questions I can't afford. He sat up, running a hand through his hair. I don't want to leave you and Leo, but it's necessary for appearances. We'll be fine, I assured him. You have an entire security team here. He pulled me close, pressing a kiss to my temple. I'm leaving Tommy in charge of the mansion detail. 6 men total. Nothing will happen to you. Something about his intensity made my stomach tighten, but I pushed the worry aside. Go. Do what you need to do. We'll be here when you get back. The day passed quietly. Leo and I built a spaceship out of cardboard boxes in the living room, his imagination running wild with stories of alien planets and brave explorers. Watching him play, seeing his joy, I understood completely why Victor would destroy anyone who threatened this child. Around 8 p.m., Leo started yawning. I carried him upstairs for his bath, reading him 2 stories before tucking him into bed. Elena, he said sleepily, you're not going to leave, are you? Like Mommy did? My heart clenched. No, sweetheart. I'm staying right here. Promise? I promise. I kissed his forehead. Now sleep. I'll be right down the hall if you need me. He was asleep within minutes. I headed back downstairs, planning to read in the library until Victor returned. I never made it. The lights went out suddenly, plunging the mansion into darkness. Then the fire alarm started shrieking, the sound deafening in the confined space. Tommy appeared with a flashlight. Miss Reyes, we need to evacuate. Electrical fire in the basement. Come with me. Something felt wrong, but the alarm was so loud I could barely think. I let Tommy guide me toward the side entrance, my thoughts on Leo sleeping upstairs. Wait, Leo. I'll get him, Tommy said. You go outside. Now. I hesitated, torn. Then 2 other security guards appeared, ushering me firmly toward the door. The moment I stepped outside into the garden, I knew I'd made a terrible mistake. The men flanking me weren't Victor's usual guards. And Tommy had vanished back inside, but not toward Leo's room. Toward the back entrance where a dark van was pulling up. No, I breathed, trying to turn back. Strong hands grabbed my arms. Quiet, one of them hissed. Or the kid gets hurt. Terror flooded through me. They had Leo. These men had my boy. I was shoved into the van just as Tommy emerged from the mansion, Leo drugged and unconscious in his arms. Seeing him like that, so small and vulnerable, shattered something inside me. You bastard, I spat at Tommy. Victor trusted you. Tommy's expression remained neutral as he secured Leo in the van. Nothing personal, just business. The drive felt eternal. We ended up at a private warehouse near the docks, the kind of place where screams wouldn't carry. They dragged me out roughly, Leo still unconscious in Tommy's arms. Inside, a man waited. He was older, 50s maybe, with cold eyes and a cruel smile. Everything about him screamed danger. "Miss Reyes," he said pleasantly. "I'm sorry we had to meet under such circumstances. I'm Vincent Moretti, and you're going to help me have a conversation with Victor Callahan." "He'll kill you for this," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "Perhaps. But first, he'll give me what I want." His territory at the docks. Full control. Moretti gestured, and Tommy laid Leo on a nearby couch. The boy is sedated, not harmed. I'm not a monster. But Callahan needs to understand that I'm serious. My phone rang. Moretti answered it, putting it on speaker. "Elena?" Victor's voice was frantic. More emotion in those 2 syllables than I'd ever heard from him. "Are you hurt? Is Leo hurt?" "We're okay," I called out. "Victor, don't..." Moretti pulled the phone away. "Callahan, you know what I want. Sign over your dock operations and you get them back. Refuse and, well, accidents happen." The silence that followed was terrifying. When Victor spoke again, his voice was utterly empty. "You made a mistake, Moretti. A fatal one. Big words for a man whose family I'm holding. 20 minutes. Warehouse 6. Come alone, and maybe I won't burn your entire organization to the ground." The call ended. Moretti looked annoyed, but not worried. Typical Callahan arrogance. "Tommy, prepare the men. We'll be ready for whatever he tries." I moved closer to Leo, checking his pulse. It was steady, but slow. Too slow. "He needs a hospital. You gave him too much. He'll wake up," Moretti said dismissively. "No, he won't. Not without medical intervention. I'm a nurse. I know what sedative overdose looks like." Fear made my voice sharp. "If he dies, Victor won't just kill you. He'll make you beg for death." Something in my tone made Moretti pause. He gestured to Tommy. "Check the dose you gave him." Tommy's face went pale. I might have miscalculated his weight." Moretti cursed viciously. "If that child dies before Callahan gets here, we have no leverage." "Then let me help him," I said quickly. "I can stabilize him, but I need to do it now." Moretti considered, then nodded. "Fine, but make one wrong move, and I shoot you both." I knelt beside Leo, checking his vitals properly. His breathing was shallow, his pulse weak. He needs an IV fluids. "Do you have a first aid kit?" They did, surprisingly well stocked for a criminal operation. I worked quickly, establishing an IV line with practiced efficiency. All the while, my mind raced. Victor was coming. Into a trap. For us. 15 minutes later, Leo's breathing had improved slightly. Not out of danger, but stable enough. I kept the IV running, monitoring him constantly while Moretti's men positioned themselves around the warehouse. Then the door exploded inward. Victor came through like an avenging angel, James and his team flanking him. Gunfire erupted instantly, the sound deafening in the enclosed space. I threw myself over Leo, shielding his small body with mine. The firefight was brutal and efficient. Victor's men moved with military precision, taking down Moretti's guards with ruthless effectiveness. I kept my head down, focused on protecting Leo. Something hit my shoulder, pain exploding through me. I gasped, but didn't move, keeping Leo covered. Warm blood soaked through my shirt, but I didn't care. Nothing mattered except keeping him safe. Then suddenly, Victor was there. He'd crossed the warehouse in the chaos, his eyes wild when he saw the blood. "Elena!" "Leo first," I gasped. He's sedated. Needs hospital. Victor's hands shook as he checked his son, then carefully lifted him. James, cover us. More gunshots. I saw Tommy trying to escape and James cutting him down without hesitation. Saw Moretti pulling a gun, aiming at Victor's back. No! I tried to shout a warning, but Victor was already moving. He turned, still holding Leo, and fired his own weapon in one smooth motion. Moretti dropped, dead before he hit the ground. The warehouse fell silent except for the ringing in my ears. Victor passed Leo to James. Get him to Dr. Morrison, now. Then he was lifting me, his face pale beneath the blood spatters. Elena, stay with me. I'm okay, I managed, though the pain was intensifying. Just my shoulder. You took a bullet for him. Victor's voice cracked. You almost died for him. He's mine, too, I whispered. Of course I protected him. The drive back to the mansion was a blur. I drifted in and out of consciousness, vaguely aware of Victor's voice, tight with fear, calling for his private doctor. At some point, we arrived home. I was carried inside, placed on a bed. Dr. Morrison worked quickly. Clean through shot. Missed the bone. She's lucky. Will she be okay? Victor demanded. She'll recover fully, but she needs rest and antibiotics. I woke fully during the stitching, biting back a cry. Victor's hand found mine immediately, his grip almost painful. I'm here, he said. I'm right here. When the doctor finished and left to check on Leo, Victor collapsed into the chair beside the bed. He looked wrecked, his suit torn and blood-stained, his face haggard. Leo? I asked. Sleeping. The doctor says he'll be fine. Another few hours. And it would have been different. But you stabilized him in time. His voice broke. You saved him again, Elena. And you almost died doing it. That's what family does. I squeezed his hand weakly. Protects each other. Victor's control finally shattered. He pressed his face against our joined hands, and I felt wetness against my skin. I love you, he said roughly. God, Elena, I love you more than I knew it was possible to love anyone. When I saw you bleeding, covering Leo with your own body, He couldn't finish. I love you too, I whispered, using my free hand to stroke his hair. You and Leo. You're my family now. My everything. He lifted his head, his blue eyes red-rimmed but fierce. I will never let anything hurt you again. Never. I'll burn this entire city down before I let anyone touch you or Leo. I know. I pulled him closer, despite the pain in my shoulder. I know, and I'm counting on it. Because I need you both just as much as you need me. Victor climbed carefully into the bed beside me, his arms wrapping around me with desperate gentleness. We lay there in the darkness, our hearts beating in sync, the weight of what we'd survived settling over us. Outside, dawn was breaking. Inside, something stronger than either of us had ever known was solidifying. Not just love, but partnership. Family. Something worth fighting for, worth dying for. And we both knew, without saying it, that we'd do whatever it took to protect what we'd found together. I woke to the sound of small footsteps and hushed voices. My shoulder throbbed dully, but the pain was manageable. Morning light filtered through the curtains of Victor's bedroom, where I'd spent the past 2 days recovering. The door creaked open slowly. Leo's dark head peeked around the frame, his blue eyes wide with concern. When he saw I was awake, his face lit up. Elena! He scrambled onto the bed with the careful movements of a child who'd been warned to be gentle. You're okay. Victor appeared behind him, looking exhausted but relieved. He'd barely left my side since the warehouse, sleeping in the chair beside the bed when I forced him to rest at all. Easy, Leo, Victor said gently. Remember, Elena's hurt. I'm okay, I assured them both, smiling as Leo settled carefully against my good side. How are you feeling, sweetheart? I'm good. Doctor, Morrison said I just needed to sleep a lot. His small hand found mine. Daddy told me you got hurt protecting me, that you're a hero. My throat tightened. You would have done the same for me. I would, he said seriously. Then his expression crumpled. I was scared, Elena. I woke up and didn't know where I was and you were bleeding and... Hey! I pulled him closer despite the twinge in my shoulder. We're both safe now. That's all that matters. Victor sat on the edge of the bed, his hand coming to rest on my knee. The dark circles under his eyes spoke of sleepless nights and lingering fear. Dr. Morrison wants to check you again this morning. Make sure there's no infection. I'm fine, I insisted. Really, it's just a flesh wound. You were shot, Elena. That's not fine. I'm a nurse. I know what infection feels like. And this isn't it. I softened my tone. But I'll let him check if it makes you feel better. Something in his expression eased slightly. It would. After Dr. Morrison's examination confirmed what I already knew, that I was healing well, Victor helped me downstairs for the first time since the attack. Leo stayed glued to my side, as if afraid I might disappear if he let me out of his sight. We settled in the living room, Leo curling up against me while Victor made calls from his office nearby. He'd been dealing with the fallout from Moretti's death, consolidating power and eliminating remaining threats. His world didn't stop for recovery, but he managed to stay close. Sophia arrived that afternoon, having finally been told the truth about what happened. She swept into the mansion like a protective hurricane, immediately checking my bandages and reading me the riot act. You were shot, Elena. Shot. She glared at Victor, who'd emerged from his office at her arrival. This is what I was afraid of. This life. This danger. I know, Victor said quietly, surprising us both. You're right to be angry. Elena was hurt because of me. Sophia blinked, clearly not expecting agreement. So what are you going to do about it? Everything in my power to make sure it never happens again. His eyes met mine across the room. And accept that Elena is strong enough to make her own choices, even if those choices terrify me. Sophia studied him for a long moment, then sighed. You love her. I can see that. She turned to me. And you love him. I can see that too, even if I think you're both crazy, completely insane. I agreed with a small smile. But I'm happy, Soph. Happier than I've been in years. Then I guess I'll have to trust your judgment. She hugged me carefully. But if anything else happens to you, I'm holding him personally responsible. Fair enough, Victor said, the corner of his mouth quirking slightly. After Sophia left, promising to cover my shifts at the hospital for another week, Victor joined me on the couch. Leo had fallen asleep against my side, worn out from the emotional day. I've been thinking, Victor said quietly, his fingers finding mine. About us. About what comes next. My heart skipped. What do you mean? I want you to go back to work. Part-time if you prefer, with security. But I want you to keep your career. Keep the parts of your life that make you who you are. He lifted our joined hands, pressing a kiss to my knuckles. I was wrong to think I needed to control everything. You proved in that warehouse that you're stronger than I gave you credit for. Thank you, I whispered, touched by the admission. It means a lot that you understand. I'm learning. His thumb stroked my wrist. The hospital administrator was very receptive to my proposal for a security detail. Something about a generous donation making them flexible. I laughed softly. Of course you made a donation. I take care of what's mine. His expression grew more serious. There's something else. A conversation we need to have. Before he could continue, Leo stirred against me, yawning. Are you guys talking about grown-up stuff? Maybe a little, Victor admitted. Leo sat up, rubbing his eyes. Then he looked between us with that unnervingly perceptive way children sometimes have. Are you going to marry Elena, Daddy? The question hung in the air. Victor's eyes met mine, and I saw everything there. Love, fear, hope, determination. Would you like that? Victor asked his son softly. If Elena became part of our family officially? She's already part of our family, Leo said matter-of-factly. But yeah, I'd like it. Then I could call her Mom for real. My vision blurred with tears. Oh, sweetheart. Victor stood, then dropped to one knee beside the couch. From his pocket, he pulled a small velvet box. Inside was a ring. A stunning emerald flanked by diamonds, clearly chosen to match the necklace I still wore every day. I had this made after I gave you the necklace, he said, his voice rough with emotion. Because even then, I knew I wanted forever with you. I was just waiting for the right moment. His hand found mine, steady and sure. There's never going to be a perfect moment in my world, Elena. But every moment with you is as close as I'll ever get. Elena Reyes, will you marry me? Will you be my partner, my love, Leo's mother? Will you take on this complicated, dangerous, beautiful life with us? I didn't hesitate. Yes. Yes. To all of it. Victor slid the ring onto my finger, then pulled me into a kiss that tasted like promise, and future, and home. Leo cheered, throwing his arms around both of us in an exuberant hug that made us all laugh. The next 2 weeks passed in a blur of healing and planning. Victor was true to his word, arranging for me to return to Portland General part-time with discreet security. My first day back, my coworkers welcomed me with questions and congratulations on my engagement, the enormous ring on my finger drawing appreciative comments. Sophia cornered me during lunch break. So, you're really doing this? Marrying into the mob. I'm marrying the man I love, I corrected, who happens to have a complicated career. She shook her head, but she was smiling. At least he makes you happy, and that kid adores you. I adore him too, both of them. I twisted the ring on my finger. I never expected this, Soph. Never imagined I'd have a family again after losing my parents. But somehow, saving Leo from that river led me exactly where I needed to be, even if it means danger, even then. Because what Victor and I have, what we've built, it's worth fighting for. Worth the risk. 3 weeks after the proposal, Victor took Leo and me back to Riverside Park. The same bend in the river where everything had started, where I'd pulled a drowning child from the current and unknowingly changed my entire life. We walked along the path, Leo running ahead to look at ducks, while Victor and I followed at a slower pace. His arm was around my waist, holding me close. Do you ever regret it? He asked quietly. Jumping in that day? I looked up at him, at the man who'd become my entire world. Strong, dangerous, fiercely protective, and so full of love, it sometimes took my breath away. Not for a single second, I said honestly. That moment led me to you, to Leo, to a family I never thought I'd have again. I thought I was done with happiness after Catherine died, Victor admitted. Thought the best I could hope for was keeping Leo safe and building my empire. Then you appeared, soaking wet and defiant, and everything changed. We saved each other, I said softly. You and Leo gave me a reason to live again, not just survive. Victor stopped walking, turning me to face him. The river rushed past behind us, the same current that had brought us together. I love you, Elena, more than I knew I could love anyone. You've given me hope, given Leo a mother, given us both a future worth fighting for. I love you too. Both of you. My family. Leo ran back to us, grabbing both our hands. Can we come here every week? As a family tradition? Victor and I exchanged glances, then nodded. Every week, Victor agreed, ruffling his son's hair. As we stood there together, the three of us watching the river flow past, I marveled at how much had changed. A month ago, I'd been alone, just going through the motions of life. Now I had a fiancé who would burn the world down to protect me. A son who called me mom, and a future that terrified and thrilled me in equal measure. What are you thinking? Victor murmured against my ear. That I never imagined this kind of happiness existed. I leaned into him, feeling Leo's small hand in mine, that sometimes the best things in life come from the most unexpected moments. Like saving a drowning child. Like saving a drowning child. I agreed with a smile. Who knew that one impulsive decision would lead to everything I never knew I needed? Victor pulled me closer, pressing a kiss to my temple. You saved us both that day, Elena, in more ways than you'll ever know. As the sun began to set over Portland, painting the sky in shades of gold and amber, we headed back to the car, back to the mansion that had become home, back to our life together, complicated and dangerous and absolutely perfect. I jumped into a river to save a child and ended up saving myself, found love in the most unlikely place with the most unlikely man, built a family from the ashes of tragedy and loss, and I wouldn't change a single moment of it. This was my life now, our life, a dangerous world balanced by fierce love and unwavering loyalty. Victor Callahan had been right about one thing from the very beginning. I belonged to him, and he belonged to me, completely and irrevocably, forever.